In a world full of V-shaped shout fest and bass-boosted neutral, one IEM, well at least back in 2022, stood against the tide of colored sound, exclaiming to the world that sounding normal actually sounds quite good. And that IEM is the Hexa, an IEM that 9 out of 10 audio nerds recommend. Let's jump into it. For those who are newer to the hobby, the brand behind the Hexa, Truth Ears, is basically IEM royalty at this point. They released the now mainstream invading Truth Ear Zero and Zero Red, the budget favorite Ola, and of course the audio nerd's wet dream, the Hexa. But before we get into the reasons why the Hexa is so beloved among us audio hobbyists, let's first get all the non-sound stuff out of the way. The Hexa is packing a 4-driver hybrid configuration consisting of 1 dynamic driver and 3 balanced armatures, all jam-packed into this very sturdy 3D printed resin shell, and it really does feel a lot sturdier than many other resin shells you see on the market today. Accessories include cable, some ear tips, carrying pouch, and depending on who you ask, the box itself might even be considered a home accessory, home decor, due to its waifu-y aesthetics. All of this for only $79 USD, made even more enticing when you realize how good it sounds. Speaking of which, let's jump into that right now. The Hexa sounds quite neutral, which at a glance might not seem as special because, I mean, many neutral IEMs exist even back in 2022, but what made the Hexa special was a couple of reasons. Number one, it was a type of neutral that was only ever seen in one other more expensive, very beloved, and now discontinued IEM, the Moondrop Blessing 2. And the Hexa being similar enough and even better in tonalities in some ways than the Blessing 2 at a fourth of the price got people very excited. And number two, we didn't know it at the time, but the Hexa is tuned coincidentally very similar to the now highly coveted meta tuning, a tuning that is the most objectively normal sounding we have today. And though it doesn't quite hit the target as precisely as more modern IEMs like the Kiwi Ears KE4, it's still the closest representation of the target at under $198, because the Kiwi Ears KE4 is $199. So basically, if you want anything meta related under the Kiwi Ears, the Hexa is the only way to go. All of this is to say is the Hexa sounds quite amazing regardless of the price, and quite a groundbreaking IEM for its time if you do consider the price of only $79. And the best part is, even in 2024, 2 years after it was released, which is a very long time in the IEM world for those who don't know, is still just as relevant as ever. There's still no competition out there around the same price that hits as close to normal sounding as the Hexa. And normal do be sounding pretty good, but it's not flawless. Say it with me, guys, every IEM has cons, and as good as the Hexa sounds, it still won't be for everyone. Let us start with con number 1, and the biggest con of the Hexa is that it can be boring sounding. Yes, normal sounds good, sounds referencey, sounds correct, but at the same time, it is quite unflavored. Like, there's no built-in excitement in the bass or the treble like other more colored sound signature. Now, I should say that not everyone's gonna find the sound of the Hexa to be boring, but some of you probably will. And con number 2, the small deviation that the Hexa has from the meta tuning, and I'm talking mainly the 1K to 1.5K hertz bump that it has, makes it so that it sounds a bit shoutier than your more modern, dead-on meta tuning IEM that's available today. But hey, that's just my one man's opinion on the Hexa, and you know what they say about opinions. They say to form your own at the Hangout. We're located at 29B Moss Street in Chinatown. Come on down, try the Hexa, compare it to other meta-tuned IEM, and after that, why not try out the rest of our hundreds of demos we have available in store. However, if you're not in Singapore and your only option to experience the Hexa is to blind buy it, let me help you make that decision easier. Buy the Hexa if 1, your budget is under $150 and you want to experience what we audiophiles mean by meta tuning or normal sound. And 2, if you like a more neutral/natural or balanced tuning in general. And don't buy the Hexa if 1, you want a more exciting, more contrasty kind of tuning, you're a bass head, you like sparkly treble, all of those things, the Hexa is not quite that. And number 2, if you know your ears don't really play well with bigger nozzles, the Hexa does measure at its widest to be 6.4 millimeters. And like always, if you do decide to buy the Hexa, why not buy it from us at hangout.audio, our online retail store, where you get free global shipping. Conditions apply. And with all of that said, remember friends, if it's not on the list, it doesn't exist. See you next week.